crying out for freedom.
Forged from the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare, side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea. This our native land, we pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Almighty God, most beneficial and merciful, Creator of the universe and embodiment of divine wisdom and light, we come before you with thanksgiving and praise. May your will be done in our nation as it is in the heavens. Please bless our political leader, party officials, activists, and all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Give us the grace to always see good, be good, and do good, and the courage to serve the people. Protect us as we stand against injustice and iniquity, and inspire our endeavors to find the right solutions to the problems that are affecting our fellow citizens. Grant that we may always work together with humility and respect for the greater happiness of all and the honor and glory of our country. Live from UNC Battleground, this is the Virtual Report, streaming on all platforms.
Good evening, brothers and sisters, and welcome to the UNC's virtual platform. I am Kenya Charles, and I am proud to be the chairman of the UNC's Women's Arm. I, together with my fellow UNC patriot, Derek Matura, Councillor for Inverness Princestown South, will be taking you through tonight's program. Being a UNC patriot means that you commit to the UNC standard of serving the people, whether you are in opposition or government, and regardless of whether or not there is an election on the horizon. Our service is genuine and consistent. It is what you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, deserve. And it is what we have always gotten from our brilliant leader, the Honorable Kamala Persad Bissessa. This evening, it is our privilege to be part of our party's effort to report to the nation and guide you through tonight's lineup. Our first speaker, having served Caroni East diligently at the party's constituency, Treasurer, Secretary, and Chairman, Dr. Rishi Sitaran is the Member of Parliament for Caroni East. Dr. Sitaran has played an instrumental role in our party's medical clinics, helping hundreds of patriots through Trinidad, while he has supported the work of our party's national youth since 2013. Dr. Sitaran also played against Trinidad and Tobago ex-footballers at our UNC inter-constituency football tournament, touching the football once. Please give a warm welcome to MP for Caroni East, Dr. Rishi Sitaran.
I want to hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing. As we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters.
Thank you very much, Kenya. A pleasant good night to my political leader and the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Mrs. Kamala Persad Bissessa, Senior Counsel. Good night to my distinguished colleagues at the head table, parliamentary colleagues, local government representatives, and the many gathered here at the M. Rampersad building, and those home and abroad. I'd like to begin by thanking all who participated in the UNC's 8-a-side football tournament this weekend. It was a bumper event with hundreds of persons taking part. Congratulations to the Point-a-Pierre constituency and MP and Chief Whip David Lee on taking home the first prize. Caroni East will come better next year. As many of you would have seen on the news, COVID-19 cases are on the rise. And deaths are unfortunately at 4,100 persons, and may they rest in peace. We currently have over 200 persons at hospital, and Minister Terence Dial Singh has failed the country in the management of COVID-19. That being said, I would like to thank all healthcare workers in Trinidad and Tobago for the yeoman service they have done in helping Trinidad and Tobago during this crisis. Only 51% of the population is vaccinated, while only 165,000 persons are boosted. 11% of the population is currently boosted. Minister Dayal Singh has failed in educating the public for the need for booster shots in reducing the transmission of the virus and preventing severe disease. The BA.5 Omicron variant is in community spread in Trinidad and Tobago and is capable of evading antibodies, meaning you can still get COVID-19 from previous infections if you had a previous infection, as well as if you are vaccinated. After the primary series of vaccine doses, you are required to get a booster shot 6 months after. But we have a problem here in Trinidad and Tobago, as we currently only have access to the Sinopharm vaccine and the Johnson & Johnson vaccines as booster shots, all Pfizer vaccines having expired a couple months ago. This Rowley administration bought hundreds of thousands of the Sinopharm vaccine, of which we have roughly 250,000 doses still left in stock. We are paying for these vaccines as part of a large loan from the Chinese government. But the problem is that the Sinopharm vaccine is tailored against the Wuhan strain of the COVID-19 virus and is not as effective against the current Omicron strain. Almost every single Sinopharm vaccine that we still have in stock will go to waste. It gets even worse when it comes to the hundreds of thousands of Johnson & Johnson vaccines bought from the African Medical Supplies platform. At last count, we have over 200 doses in stock. But just a few months ago, the United States Food and Drug Administration put conditions on the use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine after the deaths of many healthy persons after they took this vaccine. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been limited in its use by the FDA, and restrictions have been placed on its emergency use authorization. The FDA has said in a statement the change was made because of a dangerous clotting condition that can occur if you take this vaccine called thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome. So what this means is that we here in Trinidad and Tobago are between a rock and a hard place with the Sinopharm vaccine and the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I make the call for the Minister of Health to make the necessary budgetary allocations for the purchase of an adequate supply of reformulated COVID-19 booster vaccines from Pfizer or Moderna in the upcoming budget. Minister Dayal Singh, please do this for the nation. These new vaccines are designed to perform much better than the first generation vaccines, as the virus has moved on from that first Wuhan strain. In fact, as I came here today, breaking news, the new Pfizer vaccine, Pfizer has applied for regulatory authorization from the US authorities. Just applied, so it'll be out very soon. And this new vaccine by Pfizer is a bivalent vaccine. It's designed against the Wuhan strain and the Omicron strain, and it is intended for ages 12 and above. The US government has already purchased $3.2 billion of this vaccine, or 105 million doses. In fact, in Britain became the first country to authorize one of these new vaccines from Moderna just last week, and they are going to be used in the British booster campaign. So Minister Dayal Singh, it is your responsibility as the Minister of Health to either purchase these vaccines or to acquire them by a donation for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. If you cannot do this, please get out of the office of the Minister of Health. Moving on, the Seamongal Committee COVID-19 report spoke of systemic deficiencies in our public healthcare system. Issues highlighted included staff shortages, doctors and nurses having to do non-medical functions, and the overwork of our healthcare professionals to the point of exhaustion. It also spoke of poor working conditions in our public healthcare institutions. It spoke to the fact that a nurse was sometimes assigned to as much as 30 patients in a hospital. How can a nurse ever look after 30 patients at the same time? But interestingly, this report spoke about the lack of foresight in the procurement of essential COVID-19 drugs during the pandemic. Our nation's drug inventory has been deficient during the pandemic, and that is solely because of Minister Dayal Singh. Doctors had to cope with shortages of midazolam, methylprednisolone, and propofol. Dexamethasone was used in places, in instances when methylpenicillin was supposed to be used. In fact, a very important immunosuppressive drug was only available 20% of the times that consultants asked for it. So my question tonight to Minister Dayal Singh, are these COVID-19 essential drug deficiencies going to be addressed in the upcoming budget, or are we just going to have to do without? How many of the 4,100 lives lost to COVID-19 could have been saved if these drugs were in supply? We would never know. I would like to move on. The Ministry of Health, it should be noted, has made no attempt to acquire the antiviral drug Paxlovid, made by Pfizer and used by President Biden when he contracted COVID-19 just a few weeks ago. And I must note President Biden has 2 of the primary shots as well as 2 boosters. Minister Dayal Singh has not even reached out to the United States, our great ally, for a donation of these drugs. And why is this drug so important? Currently, 80% of the persons, of our citizens that are dying in our nation's hospitals from COVID-19 are unvaccinated. But this drug, Paxlovid, reduces death and hospitalization by 88% in unvaccinated persons. Basically, it's a miracle drug. It will save 9 out of 10 unvaccinated persons. So why don't we have this drug here? If you are vaccinated and you take the drug, you have a 100% chance of living. This drug has the ability to stop severe illness and death from COVID-19 in Trinidad and Tobago. It is available in almost every pharmacy in the United States. My question is a simple one. Prime Minister Rowley, did you have Paxlovid in your last COVID-19 infection? Did you have access to this drug while our citizens are dying in our nation's hospitals? Minister Dayal Singh has previously referred to the price of this therapeutic as being too expensive for Trinidad and Tobago. I would like to inform Minister Dayal Singh that Pfizer has signed an agreement with 35 generic manufacturers in 12 different countries to provide this drug to low and medium income countries. So what this means is that a generic version of this drug will be available in 2023. This therapeutic will save lives as well as it will reduce hospital admissions. I make the call for the Minister of Health to make the necessary budgetary allocations to purchase an adequate supply of this drug in the next fiscal year. My friends, monkeypox is a global concern, whether we like it or not. And Minister Dayal Singh's declaration that he has no timeline for the arrival of these much-needed drugs and vaccines leaves healthcare workers and the general public in Trinidad and Tobago exposed. Minister Dayal Singh, you must tell the nation when these vaccines are going to arrive in our country. We must make contingency plans to combat a future outbreak of monkeypox. I made the call for Minister Dayal Singh to work with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to contact our allies in the United States and the European Union to get an adequate supply of monkeypox vaccines for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. These vaccines offer protection against monkeypox and they are in supply. The first world countries do have them. We must not rely on the 2,000 vaccines that he has made an indicative order from PAHO. This can only vaccinate 1,000 persons. Cases are doubling every week in the United States. Globally, there are over 41,000 cases in 85 countries and over 13,500 cases in the US. I did the Sunday press briefing a couple weeks ago, and the number of cases in the US at the time was 6,000. I must remind Minister Dayal Singh and the nation by extension that in the budget of 2020, the minister made an indicative order from COVAX for vaccine, COVID-19 vaccines for 20% of the population. Minister of Finance Colin Mimbert then went and increased the order from COVAX to 33%. Only 108,000 of these vaccines were ever supplied to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, enough for 54,000 citizens. That is 3.8%. We cannot rely on the WHO and its subsidiaries for vaccines. You know, they gave vaccines to only those who needed them the most. Once again, I'm asking Minister Dialsingh to do what he must to get these vaccines for our citizens. I would also like to hear Minister Dialsingh's view on fractional dosing approach endorsed by US regulators and those in the European Union. We have ordered 2,000 vaccines of monkeypox vaccines, and this can vaccinate 1,000 persons. But what the US is doing is they are taking one vial of the vaccine and they are administering to 5 different persons. So they are using one vaccine for 5 persons. This is an intradermal injection, and what it has shown is that it produces the same amount of antibodies as one shot. And this is a short-term measure those in the US and the European Union are doing to safeguard their population, while the number of vaccines globally is in short supply. Minister Dialsingh, I'm asking you to state what is the Ministry of Health's position on fractional dosing of the monkeypox vaccines. Will this be adopted here in Trinidad and Tobago, or are we just going to give one vaccine to one person? Moving on, the Rowley government has reversed most of the gains of the Kamla-Persad-Bissessar government in the public healthcare sector. The government of 2010 to 2015 refurbished over 105 health centers across this country. In addition, the state-of-the-art Couva Hospital, the San Fernando Teaching Hospital was built, and construction was begun on the Arima Hospital and the Point Fortin Hospital. Over 700 hospital beds were added to the nation's public healthcare system during the People's Partnership. Every positive initiative in healthcare is being reversed under the Rowley administration. There's a lot of talk by Minister Dialsingh about living with COVID-19, but Minister Dialsingh, we cannot live with 40 to 50 deaths per month. Therapeutics are available to arrest the number of deaths in this country. You just have to go out and get them. Trinidad and Tobago deserves better. We must work to return Kamla-Persad-Bissessar to the office of Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. One party, one leader. Thank you very much.
Some of them crying out for freedom. We want freedom. Everybody crying out for democracy. Now it's time to take a stand, yeah. Come on! Cause this is the revolution, the people's revolution. This is the revolution. I wanna hear everybody sing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sicharan, MP, for unfolding the ills in the healthcare system under this incompetent, Rowley-led PNM government. Our next speaker is the esteemed Member of Parliament for Couva North, a familiar name not just in the political arena, but also in the entertainment industry. MP Ravi Rathiram has proven himself to be an all-rounded, dynamic individual. Being involved in the party for many years, Ravi currently serves as a party organizer on the national executive, a tireless worker for the people. Let us welcome MP Ravi Rathiram.
Everybody sing freedom, man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing. As we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters, let's all walk together as one. This revolution is about restoring.
Thank you very much, Chairman, for that warm introduction. Honorable political leader of the United National Congress and the best Prime Minister that this country has ever had, the Honorable Kamla-Persad-Bissessar. My parliamentary colleagues, fellow speakers on the platform here this evening, members of the local government fraternity. I see the representatives from CTTRC, Councillor Taxi, Councillor Rajbal, Councillor Nadia, Alderwoman Angie Benjamin, Alderman Vinusa Jiwan Maraj, and all others from the CTTRC, brothers and sisters joining us live on the various social media platforms, members of the media. A pleasant good evening to each and every one of you. Brothers and sisters, our country is at a tipping point right now. Our citizens have lost confidence in this government, who have clearly lost their way. Every sector of our society has collapsed, and the Prime Minister has reached to a point where he cannot be trusted, brothers and sisters. Allow me to read to you just one line from Keith Rowley's election manifesto from 2 years ago. This is what he said. Over the last 5 years, we have strengthened and adjusted the economy's capacity to react to adverse shocks and circumstances. We have stabilized and restored self-sustaining growth in the economy, and very importantly, we have created significant employment opportunities. Brothers and sisters, you hear lie? That is lie. Brothers and sisters, everything that Keith Rowley said there is a lie. Every sector of our economy, across the length and breadth of our country, people are facing problems. Our citizens are suffering. Our economy, which was stagnated under this Rowley-led PNM administration, is now contracting, brothers and sisters. More and more citizens continue to lose their job, and unemployment continues to be a major issue affecting our citizens. When we look at the education sector, for example, it has totally collapsed under this Rowley-led PNM administration. From the dismantling of the GATE program, brothers and sisters, to the cutting of scholarship by 75% from 400 to 100 each year, to the biggest educational blunder of all times, the stopping of the laptop distribution to students entering the secondary school system. Just imagine, under this PNM government, 9,000 out of 17,000 students who wrote the SCA exams had earned under 50%. That is typical PNM styling. They will blame everything else and everyone else, but they themselves will never take responsibility for their own incompetence. And this is why I say to you tonight that great is the failure of the PNM, great is their failure, brothers and sisters, and that is why the country is saying, Rowley must go. Do you think for a moment that this would have ever happened under the Prime Minister and the leadership of Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar? I want to remind you, brothers and sisters, that it is Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar that ensured that every single child had an opportunity to enter the secondary school system with the abolishment of that dreaded common entrance exam. Brothers and sisters, it is Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar who ensured that every child entering the secondary school system received a laptop. So during this difficult COVID pandemic time that we recently experienced, these children could have enjoyed online learning. We found out through that joint select committee with my sister from Tabaki, MP Anita Haynes, that over 46,000 children were deprived of an education here in Trinidad and Tobago, brothers and sisters. When we look at service delivery that comes under public utilities, it is a crying shame for want of a lack of basic maintenance. Imagine 30% of the country lost electricity in an instant just last week, as an electricity tower in Grants Road, Rosilac almost collapsed after a landslide. Tonight I want to call out Minister Marvin Gonzalez and ask what is going on with our community water improvement project. Stop playing games with the citizens. Stop fooling the people of this country who deserve a consistent and adequate supply of pipe-borne water. Brothers and sisters, since last year's mid-year review, I questioned Minister Gonzalez about this program and his request for an additional $16 million in funding, which he said was going to improve the water supply to Brickfield and surrounding areas. You all remember that? At last year, October 12th budget, the Standing Finance Committee's meeting, Minister Gonzalez recommitted to this project. Now as we fast forward this year to the mid-year review that we had on May 13th, when I asked the minister for an update on this program, with specific reference to the two earmarked areas within the constituency of Couva North, that area that I represent, which was Brickfield and Apple Settlement in Orangefield, the minister responded, and I quote, "That project is due to commence in 2 to 3 weeks, the Brickfield project," and he said, in verbatim, in the third phase, The third phase is due to commence in 1 month's time. That was for APU settlement. Brothers and sisters, that was in May. Today, my office made inquiries at WASA and we informed that these projects has not even gone out to tender as yet. Imagine that, PNM style, promises that never materialize. When they speak, brothers and sisters, they cannot be trusted. And again, I say to you tonight, that great is the failure of the PNM, great is their failure. Brothers and sisters, another thing I want to highlight as a national issue that is plaguing all the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago is crime and the failure of the sleeping Minister of National Security, Fitzgerald Hines, to address this issue. For those who tuned in to yesterday's morning opposition media briefing would have heard me speak to the challenges faced by our farmers in terms of predial larceny and our fisher folk who fall victim to piracy at sea and then return to land to be told by the Coast Guard at 2 different points, at 2 different operational bases, that they cannot render assistance because they had no boats. They had no vessels at Cedras and no vessels at San Fernando by the Yacht Club, where the Coast Guard base is established. Our points of entry remain open, and that is why all the illegal guns continue to come into this country. That is why crime continue to run rampage, while Hines continue to sleep and bounce down people dog. We're so sorry for Mali. Recently, brothers and sisters, in Couva North over the weekend, a video was circulating supported by Be On The Lookout Facebook page, a post on social media depicting a brazen daylight attack on a Chase Village businesswoman and her child. It is alleged that the victim and her daughter were accosted, tied up, and robbed of cash and jewelry by 6 SRPs. And I'm not speaking about Special Reserve Police, but rather something resembling police. They were seen in police uniform. And this is what citizens and business people face daily across Trinidad and Tobago, because we have a Minister of National Security who is sleeping on the job, while acting Commissioner of Police is busy running alongside the Prime Minister's vehicle. And I want to ask my colleague on the control to share with us this video. Last week. And I want to ask the acting Commissioner of Police, is that you, sir? Is that you there running behind that vehicle? Is that you running next to Dr. Rowley's vehicle, sir? Maybe the Prime Minister fired one special branch officer, and maybe the Prime Minister's special branch detail is short by one, and maybe the acting Commissioner of Police had to pick up the slack. I don't know. Tell us, is Special Branch lacking an officer, and now the Commissioner, the acting Commissioner of Police, have to be running like a political potong behind the Prime Minister's vehicle? While our citizens continue to fall victim of the criminal element in this country, Couva North will not stand by and allow you to get away with that. The UNC, under the leadership of Mrs. Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, will not stand back and allow you to get away with that. Imagine a Minister of National Security totally unaware that his responsibility is to make our citizens safe, brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, at this time, nobody is safe in this country under Keith Rowley and the PNM. Business people are not safe. Citizens are not safe. Fishermen are not safe. Farmers are not safe. Our farmers continue to suffer from neglect of this Rowley-led PNM administration. Tonight, I want to once again state that we in the UNC are proud of all our farmers in TNT, and we congratulate all those who participated in the Agri-Investment Expo over this weekend. While they toil hard and they face the elements, I want to share with you a video of what our farmers have to face on the outside.
Oh
This is what our farmers have to face because of the failure of the Minister of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, the failure of the Minister of Works and Transport to clean our watercourses. You saw from 2018, 2019, straight up to this year, 2022, farmers being totally flooded out, losing the entire produce, brothers and sisters. And this is why our citizens have to pay such exorbitant prices at the supermarket. In the short space of time that I have, I want to share with you a document, brothers and sisters, that came to my mail. And I want to read to you what this document said. And if I can ask you to share it on the screen. This document bears the letterhead of the Commissioner of State Land, and it is signed off by an acting Commissioner of State Land. An inspection report dated has revealed that the parcel of state land situated at such and such address is uncultivated. Please be advised that this constitutes a breach of Clause 3 of the second schedule of the agricultural lease registered such and such, which states that the leasee agreed to use and dismiss land the dismissed land for agricultural purpose as described in the agreed program of development, to utilize and maintain the dismissed land in a proper and husband-like manner in accordance with the agreed program for development. You are kindly advised to rectify the above breach within 90 days commencing from the date of this notice being served upon you. Please note failure to do so would result in this division taking further action against you. Brothers and sisters, this is what is happening at this point in time for our farmers. They are being threatened now by this administration to lose their land for not being able to cultivate. You saw a video for yourself of what farmers have to face. We have other videos to share with you where the roads are impassable. Some of these farmers cannot even access their lands. But now we have a government wanting to take away the lands from our farmers, brothers and sisters. So in closing, I want to say to you that just in a few days, Trinidad and Tobago will be celebrating Independence Day. While we may be free from the crown and the colonial rule, I am saying that we are still far from being independent. Because it is only when a country can feed itself, it is only then that country is truly independent. And in order to realize true independence, we need to be free of Keith Rowley and this PNM government. So, Prime Minister Rowley, this Independence Day, I ask you to kindly free us from crime and predial larceny, free us from the geographic discrimination that our local government representatives face, free us from your government's abuse and the abuse that you shell out to the media when they question you, free us from your nepotism and corruption, free us from a cabinet filled with dishonesty, saying one thing and doing otherwise. Free us, Prime Minister, free us and free us. Call the elections now and let us get our independence by being free of you and your bunch of failed ministers. Long live our honorable political leader, Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Long live the soldiers of the UNC. Long live you, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you.
People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom. Want freedom. Everybody crying out for democracy. Now it's time to take a stand, yeah. Come on! Cause this is the revolution. The people.
Rowley, free us and come out of office with your failed PNM government. Just a reminder, we are live on Jagrati TV and radio, Freedom Radio 106.5, Synergy TV, Street 91.9, More 104.7, and all UNC media platforms. Our next speaker is a dynamic woman who is grounded and well-loved by all. A true definition of a daughter of the soil, and definitely a daughter of the UNC. She served as a local government councillor for Cunupia for 7 years, and also served with distinction as a mayor of Chaguanas. Today, she is a member of parliament for Chaguanas East, and we also recently elected her as education officer of our great party of our national executive. Please welcome Vice Chair of the Women's Arm and MP Vandana Mohit.
Revolution. This is the revolution. I wanna hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing. As we move in this people's revolution.
Thank you very much, my dear chairlady of the Women's Arm and Sister Kenya Charles, for that introduction. To our esteemed political leader, Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisesa, parliamentary colleagues and NATEX colleagues, UNC friends and family, those joining us on the various social media platforms, and some of you here, good evening, and thank you for joining us. I want to begin by commending our political leader and our UNC for the great job in our recent activities held by our party. I am personally still tired from our Fun and Family Day at Fun Splash. This evening, my dear friends, I'm going to deal with some very important issues affecting our citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. My dear citizens and friends, we are 12 days away. 12 days from now will be the commencement of the new school term for our nation's children. And what has the government said to you, the mothers and fathers who have lost your job and are still struggling from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic? Many parents still have not bought books. They are struggling to even feed their children during this vacation period. And it begs the question, who is caring for them right now? What has the government put in place for families like these? I can tell you, as an MP, this year I got the most requests for assistance regarding back to school over any other year that I have served before. And when I look at their situation, I tell you, since last week into this week, I'm looking at book lists after book lists. And when I look at their situation, I can tell you, I am not helping them because of votes, you know. The issue really is people just can't afford in this country. And it is very serious, and it's only getting worse. And I ask, where is Donna Cox? Where is her initiatives? Where is the PNM? And where are their initiatives as it relates to our vulnerable children in this country? What has the government proposed to help struggling families who are trying to get their children back to school? And I want to touch on a few things. Do you remember when the opposition leader proposed the one-time uniform grants for students just a few months ago? Do you remember, my friends, when she said, and I quote, "Give the children a one-time grant in time for school opening, so a parent does not have to decide if to put a plate of food on the table or if to buy a uniform." What did the PNM do? Absolutely nothing. They have no ideas, and they are not willing to even accept a great idea to help our nation's vulnerable children. Such a shame. And they preach youth, and they preach youth are our future. Where is Prime Minister Keith Rowley? Where is Prime Minister Keith Rowley? On assuming office as Prime Minister, Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisesa had her ministers busy working. Do you remember when she created the Ministry of the People to specifically treat with the poor and vulnerable in this society? Do you remember that? She ensured that her minister had the following ready and available to those in need. And I remind you, the school supplies grant dispersed a sum of $500 per child to a maximum of 4 children, which could have been accessed by parents whose school books and other schools, whose children's school books and other school supplies were destroyed by, let's say, fire, flood, or other natural disasters. And that was increased to $1,000 when the child is in secondary school, and to 750 when if the child was in primary school. Today, where is Donna Cox? Donna Cox recently said grants are available to those who were flooded. I can tell you, numerous requests based on natural disasters, flooding and other things went to that Ministry of Social Development, and all you get, they are recommended. All over, grants being given. But when it comes to UNC constituencies, you might get a 1 or 2 sticking somewhere. And what they would say to you, recommended, no funding. But yet you see them on camera posing in various PNM constituencies, giving out grants. So we ask, these school supply grants, where are they? But those were initiatives under Kamla Prasad-Bissessar. Under Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, her minister ensured that we had the education grant, which increased from $300 to $500 per child per month. And when we speak about feeding families and nutrition, we had the introduction of the Rise Up component of the food card, which provided development support and so on in terms of housing, education, safety, finances within the household. And we had results out of that. The Rise Up Secretariat partnered with other private and public as well as non-governmental organizations to secure employment and skills for clients. And you know what they are doing now? They closed the Rise Up, and now they're trying to steal our program and call it Step Up, because they have not done anything for the vulnerable and those who are relying on the social support system during their tenure. And as it relates to that Rise Up program, training occurred for more than 800 clients. As it relates to the food card, many Rise Up participants were able to become self-reliant citizens and return their food cards because they were able to then sustain themselves. When we speak about rural communities and those rural communities accessing services, Prime Minister Kamla Prasad-Bissessar ensured that her minister had the direct effect program. Do you remember when social services used to come into your community and they had support services at hand to give to those people within the rural communities and make the necessary social interventions? We can never forget these direct impact initiatives. Through this direct impact initiative, under Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, the construction of 52 starter homes in several parts of Trinidad and Tobago happened. And in addition to that, unemployed youth were able to access employment through construction activities. So I ask you this evening, have you or people you know who are vulnerable benefited from any of these programs since Keith Rowley became Prime Minister? When Keith Rowley assumed the office of the Prime Minister, the first thing he did was remove the Ministry of the People and Social Development. Do you remember that? Can you recall the removal of the baby grant by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley? That man literally took food away from the mouths of babies in this country. Heartless. Brothers and sisters, we are at a point where serious intervention is needed and support services such as these are most needed. They would shout everywhere, the children and youth are our future. What are they doing to secure the future of our children? Many of our children are faced with situations where they are unsure about tomorrow. The reason why I mentioned those items which Mrs. Bissessar had in place, it's because these programs were designed to provide that needed support within households and by extension dealt with the root cause of problems, allowing our children a better future in this country. Do you think Mrs. Bissessar gave laptops as gifts to our children? No, she gave laptops to prepare our children for a better and more progressive future, and I congratulate her for that. I was so happy when I saw laptops being given to children Because through primary school and secondary school and a few months into my first degree, I had to run and ask the neighbor on the next street to use her computer. And I thank them for that. Auntie Dolly and her daughter Sherry, I remember running to their home to utilize their computer. And when I saw laptops being given to children, I felt an ease for our nation's children. I said, that lady, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, is a great human being. So I have been looking at how the PNM treat our young children. Recently, I reached out to even the Prime Minister to assist the Trinidad and Tobago girls under 17 team who participated in the Central Basket Qualifiers March in Nicaragua. He never even responded. 6 of those girls come from the community of enterprise, 4 from my constituency and 4 from Caroni East. The Prime Minister never responded to date. Shamfa, of course, being Shamfa, had to express views which I believe were very rude to these girls in particular. And for that, I want to let the Prime Minister and his lousy minister know that when you treat our young sportsmen and women like that, it is definitely not motivating and affects their mental health. I say no more. Read between the lines. But today I am proud to say that as a UNC MP, I was able to assist these girls with $12,000 in one day with the help of my business community and together with so many others who assisted through GoFundMe program, GoFundMe, to have them participate in this tournament. I am also proud to inform that Amaria Klein and Carissa Ramdial dominated the overall statistics of the competition, both from enterprise, with Carissa Ramdial winning an award for one of the best point guards. So send your love to them. Give them motivation because they come from the community of enterprise, which those adults and coaching team and parents are working very hard with those children. As I conclude, I want to touch a bit on the remedial classes. Just recently, we saw the publication from the Ministry of Education where we saw 9,000 people to benefit from remedial classes at a cost of $10 million from July 8th to August 12th. A little over 2,700 pupils signed up for this remedial classes. Today we ask why thousands of other students did not sign up for these remedial classes. My colleague Anita Haynes dealt with this before in asking about the real targeted strategies and what are their monitoring and evaluation strategies in terms of this particular program and how are they reaching the students who need the assistance. We ask if just over 2,700 persons registered, where are these 5,000 plus children? What is happening to them? The government must answer this and we must protect our nation's students. Nian Gaspidali, Ayana Webster Roy, and Donna Cox, you all must all come together now and let us pull back these children and ensure they have a future. The Prime Minister must act on this. Our children have had to deal with real unfortunate situations over the last 2.5 years. They were deprived of many things. And I say to you, if you fail our children, you are failing our nation. And you are failing yourself even further because you have already failed. And with that in mind, my fellow friends, I say that may God continue to bless our nation's children. May God continue to bless our political party and our leader. And I thank you very much.
Dictatorship. Welcome to the revolution. People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom. Want freedom. Everybody crying out for democracy.
Thank you very much, MP Vanden and Mohit, for highlighting the struggles that our people have to go through in this country and, of course, the struggles of the future, and that is our youths. It is my pleasure to bring on our next speaker. But unlike our previous speakers, he's not a big-time footballer or he's not in the entertainment industry, but he was appointed one of the youngest ever senators in 2017. Saddam Hussein was elected Member of Parliament for Barataria Sawa in 2020, a fearless advocate in defense of your rights in Parliament. His dynamic approach to representation in Barataria Sawa is exemplary. He has recently been elected as one of our party's research officer. Please welcome to the UNC virtual platform, MP Saddam Hussein.
Cause this is the revolution, the people's revolution. This is the revolution. I wanna hear everybody sing.
Good evening, my UNC family. Special good evening to the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa of Senior Council, fellow MPs, local government practitioners, and most importantly, the beautiful people of my constituency of Barataria Sanwan. A warm welcome to the United National Congress Monday Night Platform. And as the MP for Barataria Sanwan, it is my pleasure to address you, this distinguished audience here tonight. And we are on the brink of ushering our 60th independence anniversary of our beloved Trinidad and Tobago. And it should have been a time of reflection where we should have been proud to boast that after 60 years of independence, crime is down, food prices should have been low, the cost of living should be affordable, and a technology-based government system with national unity. But instead, the PNM has given us a runaway crime situation, a population living from paycheck to paycheck, and a divided nation. Some would say that Trinidad and Tobago today is unrecognizable. And last week, two major regional leaders came to Trinidad, President Irfan Ali of Guyana and Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados. And when they spoke, they brought more hope for our people than our own government. We have a lazy Prime Minister leading an incompetent cabinet. Lazy Prime Minister. And tonight, I will say that with authority because I will share some of the data with you as it correlates to the crippling incompetence of the PNM government in the year of 2022. And these statistics will shock you as it has led me to lose even more respect for this Rowley-led administration. Because what the PNM has done over the last 2 years will astound any man or woman. The PNM government has illustrated to the people of Trinidad and Tobago that despite whoever is in charge of that political party, it will bring blight to this nation. Because this government has shown that that they don't care about the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Because we have seen the crime rate is out of control. We have seen our foreign investment and foreign trade diminish to the lowest ever. And we have seen the worst level of infrastructure in Trinidad. We have potholes over potholes over potholes. And the PNM government has proven time and time again that they are totally incapable of leading Trinidad and Tobago. Yet without shame, they orchestrate fables of a utopia that they can create if they are re-elected. And as a proud citizen of this country and a representative of the UNC, I am beyond tired of the PNM's bag of tricks. I am sick of hearing the PNM party spew nonsense about how this country is getting better when indeed things are getting worse. The murder toll in 2021 was 450. 450 of our citizens have died because of murders under this PNM government just in 1 year. And we were under a state of emergency. A state of emergency. The people of Trinidad and Tobago are not going to re-elect a government that skirts across murders, rapes, and robberies. It is time that the PNM government hand over the reign of powers to the United National Congress, a party with promises that materialize plans and performance. That is what we are. Safety is a right that every citizen should have in this country, despite whoever you are. However, it seems that only the PNM ministers are meant to feel safe, while the rest of the country have to be frightened. It has been 2 years since the Rowley administration won the general election, and the issue of national security has fallen on deaf ears as the crime rate continues to rise just like the price of flour. Every year, billions of dollars are allocated to fund the protective services, yet the murder toll cannot seem to go down. Business operators operating fair. Homeowners spend thousands on home security systems and or fashion their homes with burglar proofing. The issue of crime to this government is one that they don't take seriously. There's a public outcry now that we want to feel safe. We want to feel safe. People, when they leave this meeting, people right now in their homes are locked up because they are afraid that they are gunned down. That is what we are afraid of. Why is this PNM government not acting? And we have one of the worst Minister of National Security we have ever seen in the history of our country, Fitzgerald Hines. Fitzgerald Hines, you need to go. You have no plan to fight crime. And last night I heard that the Attorney General, the man who went to lie in a US court, started to talk about bail bill again. The same bail bill that the independent senators rejected in the parliament, the same bail bill that the UNC the senators rejected in the Senate, you want to bring it back? Bail is not the solution. While this bail bill was law, 450 of our citizens died. While this bail bill was law, we lost Andrea Barrett. While this bail bill was law, we lost Ashanti Riley. The bail bill simply does not work. What we need is a working Minister of National Security, a working Commissioner of Police, and a competent Prime Minister. A day will come when this country again will be blessed with a UNC government, because when we were in power, we showed that we had the plans, we had the policies, we had the people, we had the assets in order to make the people feel safe. Because we have brought serious crimes down to the lowest level in over 1 decade when we were in power. Because Kamla Persad-Bissessar appointed the right people for the right jobs. And had we been in government today, you would have had a Ministry of Defense, a Ministry of Home Affairs, a Ministry of Justice, all working together in one synergy in order to have the wheels of the criminal justice system turning while the police are out there arresting people, charging them. A properly staffed DPP's office. I hear the Attorney General boasting, well, look, we hired 20 prosecutors. Get real. You spent over $400 billion and you come last night to boast that you hired 20 prosecutors. Where are you going to put them? Where are you going to put them? I spent some time at the office of the DPP. I could tell you, in a little cubicle, 3 prosecutors had to share one office space. Where are you going to put them 20 people to sit on top of one another? You have no space. You're renting a building on Park Street. You're renting Gulf City Mall in San Fernando. You're renting Gulf City Mall in Tobago for the office of the DPP. And up till now, you cannot relocate the offices there. Man, this government is a total waste of time. Fitzgerald Hines, you are a total waste of time. Total waste of time. And then you would need the evidence. You would need evidence to go to court. So, the best evidence sometimes could be video camera footage. Everybody knows, almost every household now has a CCTV camera because, you want to see what is happening around your home. This government has spent millions and millions and millions of dollars on CCTV camera footage. But I want to show you what Minister Hines' response to CCTV camera footage is. So, I'll just ask you to look at this video. What's a report on the, well, let me start this way. You would have indicated to us that the CCTV cameras and the management falls under the SSA. And recently you would have reported to this parliament a certain percentage of cameras that are in fact functional in Trinidad and Tobago. Can you now update us and tell this parliament how many cameras are functional as compared to those that are non-functional?
The last time I looked, the figures that I would have given then, I maintain that today.
So
but it also, I must tell you procedurally, that is not an item in front of us at this committee today.
No, the SSA budget covers CCTV cameras because you did tell us that the SSA CCTV cameras are under the management of the SSA. And
the information I gave you on the last occasion obtains as far as I'm aware today.
Yeah, so basically you're saying, Minister, that there was no work done whatsoever with the CCTV camera infrastructure in Trinidad and Tobago after every single day we have seen gruesome murders in this country. And you are telling this parliament that no CCTV, not one single CCTV camera was repaired? Not
Madam
a
Chair,
single camera? And now you're coming to ask for $66 million additional?
Madam Chair, I couldn't tell you where the member for Barataria Sanwog got that, how he arrived at that conclusion. Can't understand it.
And Minister, what I want to find out also is that you're asking this Parliament to now approve an additional $66 million to the SSA. Can you explain why the SSA has not filed annual reports since 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021 to explain the expenditure of the SSA?
But you know, member for Barataria Sanwan, you very well know that that is not allowed under the exercise that we're doing.
And Minister,
Okay, so 1 minute. If you want to make statements, fine, but those are not questions.
Sure.
Okay?
What I want to also ask the Minister, Madam Chair, is whether or not any of the $66 million will go towards the purchase, acquisition, and management of spyware devices in Trinidad and Tobago.
I will treat that foolish, idiotic question with silence. I'll remain silent, Madam Chair.
Trinidad and Tobago, that is your Minister of National Security, appointed by Keith Christopher Rowley. Happy Independence Day.
If you cut me, you go see blood. And if you squeeze me, you go feel the love. We are one people under the sun. One nation under the law. So who feel the black? Who feel the white? I don't know. But it's set till tomorrow night. Who feel the wrong? Who feel the right? Come and go. And all who feel the too bright, let me jump up, let me wind up, party non-stop. Ramage Dingole Kelkete, we come to play mass. Every creed and class, don't let nothing pass. Like a repetitive, all the love inside away.
First woman Prime Minister, first woman Attorney General, first woman to chair the Commonwealth of 54 nations, first woman opposition leader. Welcome KPB Plus, solid everywhere.
Like a repetitive, all the love inside away.
Thank you very much. Good evening to all of you. As we join you here again, let's thank Councillor Derek for helping us to host, and Women's Officer Kenya Charles. Please, let's give them a round of applause. We thank all of you for joining us here in person, and of course all those locked in on this Monday virtual report. I want to thank our colleagues who spoke before me. My colleagues are Vandana Mohit, MP, give a round of applause, MP Saddam, MP Rishi, and MP Ratiram. So we had a great going, a good build-up as we continue to report to you, as we try to do as often as we can. And these meetings are so very vital. They're very critical because this gives us a space to discuss very serious issues facing our nation. We try to bring the bread and butter issues. I heard Vandana on my way here, a great contribution about the suffering as schools are poised to reopen shortly, and the troubles that parents and children are facing. Dr. Rishi talked to us about the health sector. Of course, MP Ratiram about agriculture and so on, and Saddam, a most worrisome issue dealing with crime. And he said that he played a little clip where the minister said he would be silent, but actually he was talking, saying he would be silent. So he wasn't silent, lies as usual. So he's silent and sleeping on the job. And I do believe, when we look at the stats I'll share with you again, that Hines has to go now. We are the most murderous state in our country. Our party has always been and will always be the voice of the common man. We'll forever continue to speak to you on the issues that affect the majority of our citizens. When others fail to speak out and they get more busy attacking the UNC when the UNC is not in government, I think they have their priorities totally disorganized. I see some people stepping out there and the attacks are on the UNC when it should be this government. They are the ones who were voted or not voted to govern. And so we will not be silent. We'll continue to speak out to you. But before I get to some more serious issues, I think I must say thank you to all those who helped us yesterday for our football festival, UNC Festival. Congratulate the sponsors, the organizers. I mean, it was a tremendous event. Those of you probably were not there would have seen the social media. And I want to thank the team who helped put it together. Of course, it's Team UNC. I want to thank the persons who actually participated and all the colors and all the T-shirts and the uniforms. It was a tremendous event. So let's say thanks to all of that. In particular, I want to thank our General Secretary, Peter Kanhai, DJ Tank again, yes. And of course, the entire effort was led by our MP, Arnold Ram. So let's give Arnold and his team a round of applause. Senator Roberts, MP Sicharan, MP Amin, Women's Officer Kenya Charles. There's one shot I think will be one photo. That is the most outstanding photo of the entire festival, the football festival. That is with Kenya with her legs up in the air and her head back. I think we should post that picture like the #1 picture of the football game. As you know, Kenya has been a national women's football player for TNT, and she demonstrated that yesterday, as did so many others. I want to also thank Nicholas Morris and Angie Benjamin, always there on the sides, in the front, helping, and to all the teams who participated. But, you know, Team UNC, many teams we have, subcommittees that help. Some help more in some events, some help less. And I have to congratulate Team Pointe-a-Pierre. Yes. See, we have some Pointe-a-Pierre people here tonight. They were brilliant in their play, as with so many other teams. It was a nail-biting finish with Mayaro coming a very close, tight second. So let's give Mayaro a heads up as well. 3 goals to 2, brilliant. And the third place winner, of course, Diego Martin Notice, I believe. Let's give them a round of applause. I want to thank Mr. Anil Maraj of Sultan Drinks, one of our major sponsors. Let's give it up, one of the major sponsors for yesterday's event. And let's take a moment, let's look at a short video of yesterday's events.
I'm at a happy place in my life, and it can't change. No way. And I just come out here to do right. So whether day or night, I will never ever change. I'm at a happy place everywhere I go. I'm at a happy place, never ever change.
Thank you. Just a short clip of what happened yesterday. And of course, MP Khadija was also brilliant on the actual. You know what? I was also very impressed with Tahaka. Now, Tahaka wears glasses. But yesterday, we had an exhibition game with some of our former national players. Let's thank that team as well, our national players who participated. And then there was a team with some MPs and some also ran. So there was a team of UNC, so it's Team UNC and the national players, and Tahaka got the job of being the goalkeeper. Now I'm told the day before, because the tournament was Saturday and Sunday, I was told the day before that he got some damage. But yesterday he was absolutely brilliant. So the national players, they were brilliant, but they were only able to score 1 goal against our pick-up UNC side for that game. And it was Tahaka who blocked. So I'm saying he doesn't wear glasses. He wears glasses, but when he was goalkeeping, he was not wearing the glasses. So I asked him after, I said, Tahaka, how did you do that? He said, don't worry, boss. When it's coming close, I can see. It's when it's far away. And it came close and he was able to stop it. So thanks so much to all. Now, that football tournament festival was part of a series of events we have been having over this month of the parliamentary recess, the month of August. We started off with the cricket competition hosted by the constituency of my own constituency, Siparia, and some guys there were very helpful. I want to thank in particular Keston and his team, and Usha and her team for making that cricket event a successful one. That was then followed by our Emancipation Day celebrations, and then we had the football event, and we'll have others. And how could I forget that family day? It was a great, great family day, brilliant. So we've had all these in the month of August, as we had just before August and during August, during the parliamentary recess. And you'll say, well, where's the UNC having all these sports days and family days and so on? The answer is a very simple one. A family that prays together stays together. And a family that plays together also stays together. And that gives us the bonding and the camaraderie, to be shared with each other. So it's not just standing here on virtual reports and raising serious issues. We also have that bonding and working together. And for those of you who have missed out, we have more to come. We will launch a series of, I'm told it's called an All Fours League. Am I correct? Is that a proper word? A competition throughout the country, again, to create that bonding and sharing and spending time together. So we will launch that very soon. And then on a more serious note, we will begin our budget consultations. I have a team working on that. MP Tanku, our economist, and MP Saddam are the main drivers behind that, and we'll share more with you on those consultations, because we are heading up and preparing for what the government has said they will have is an early budget. So we say how early that early is. We know they have this spotlight on the economy on the 2nd of September, and of course we will be ready to answer all the lies that they'll be coming with, and I'll share some more of that with you. So we are all one family. We live in one community. We live in Trinidad and Tobago. In spite of the many differences we may have, we have more in common than we have that is different. Building our nation requires building families and communities. So I want to encourage all of you, no matter where you are, to get actively involved in your neighborhoods, to get actively involved in your communities, help to organize an event, a sport tournament, culture, any event that will bring people together in a way that is kind, sharing, and helpful. So in your own communities, as we are doing and trying to spread throughout the country, I ask each of you in your own communities, get involved, do something, help your community. Remember when you were growing up, how it was. We keep saying the old time days, bring back the old time days. Yes, there were some good things about the old time days. There were some not so good things, but there were some good days. I remember as a young person, as a girl growing up in Siparia, the community would get together. I was very blessed because I lived just opposite the big savannah in Siparia, in the heart of Siparia. So every event that was happening, I was just opposite the savannah. And it was wonderful to see the amount of events that used to be held at that ground, that savannah. When I became Prime Minister, I was able to help to develop that into a proper ground in Siparia, with a little stadium, a pavilion, and other things. And we trusted more events is taking place there. And behind my house, so in front of my house, over the road was the Siparia Savannah, sports ground. You'll have races, you had bicycle things, you had independence celebrations, you had Better Village, all the things would be taking place right here. Behind my house was the Deltones steel pan yard. So it was a great mix, I think I was a very blessed person to grow up in a place like Siparia, to grow up in a place, Trinidad and Tobago, because whilst we have that diversity, we have also sharing, as I say, so much that we all have in common. So I heard Rowley now is talking about a new society. I have no idea what he is talking about. I doubt he even knows what he is talking about. As with everything else, he uses the buzzwords and then will not give the details or will not see any implementation. We are still waiting to hear about public health emergency and the fight against crime. So if by new society Rowley means one where families are struggling to pay bills, where pensioners are struggling to buy food, where young people want to migrate because there are no new opportunities for them, well, Rowley, mission accomplished. If that's the new society you are talking about, you appear to be making your own new society. I think Vandana spent quite some time on the ills facing people at this time. I think what we need to is to get back to some of the traditional values we used to have. And as that pertains to community life. When we place value on our family and communities, when people were proud of their communities, and especially when we felt safer in our own homes, that's where we need to go to. Those are the values that UNC stands for, and that is the nation TAT will become again when the people of Trinidad and Tobago return the UNC to government. And in the meantime, we keep working. Do not ever give up. Never, ever give up. I told you last week that the government will come again with their fake news about the economy and the recovery of the economy. Well, it started. The Minister of Finance has started a dangerous trend of using data that only he has access to. So the minister is using data or stats for a fake recovery of the economy. If the economy truly recovered, you would be able to afford groceries in the supermarket or in the regular markets. If our economy truly recovered based on oil and gas revenue significantly above budgeted prices, as the minister claimed, where are the deposits into HSF? So that was to be a favorite area of yours, and we need to look at that. Have they made any deposits into the HSF? Because according to law, if the prices go above the price that you budgeted, higher than that price, then you have to make deposits into the rainy day fund, the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. We have seen no evidence that they have placed monies into the HSF based on the increased revenues from the increased prices of oil and gas. So, if the economy recovered by the $5 billion that the Minister of Finance claimed, why then are families paying up to $500 more per month to travel to work and to school? Each month you're paying more. Why? Where is this $5 billion that you say that you have? That is a false recovery. It is false data. So let's look at the true numbers as put out by the central bank, because we cannot trust the Minister of Finance and his interpretation. I told you last week, and I repeat it again, the famous book, How to Lie with Statistics, and that is a fake recovery that the Minister of Finance is using data that only he has access to. So I will look at the central bank data that is available. Now, the main measure of growth in an economy, or an economy doing well, is what is called GDP. I told you that last week and I repeat it again, gross domestic product. You will see that our GDP, which measures the total output of the economy, and if you see the trend that this shows, and you'll see the table there up on the screen, has declined in the 7 years that this government has been in office. We do not subscribe to the economy according to Imbert. The CSO published a GDP for concluded calendar years 21 at TT $136.4 billion. This is 2021 from the CSO, representing a decline of $6.7 billion, 4.7 from 2020. And that table will show you that when the base year 2012, when we were in office, GDP was at $165.7 billion. By 2015, the last year of my government, we had taken that upwards to $171 plus billion. $171 plus billion. What this means is, in spite of their noises of creating macroeconomic stability, they have presided over a decline in national output to the tune of $34.6 billion, a decline of $34.6 billion under this government. It means that our country generated $34.6 billion less than the last year under this government than under the government I led in 2015. So the numbers are there. The 2015 numbers, my last year in government, $165.7 billion, and now, $171.0772 billion, and now under Rowley, 2021, a drop by $34.6 billion in 2021, And we'll still have to await the numbers for this present fiscal year 2022. So that decline in output has been squarely addressed by this government in the past 6 years. GDP growth does not measure individual benefit from national output, but it does provide a framework to look at the general level of opportunity in the country. So if that output, gross domestic product, national output is falling, what happens? Investors, whether they be domestic investors or whether they be foreign investors, they use GDP growth as a back of the envelope indicator of prosperity in a market, how to conduct and where to conduct their investments, whether to enter into investments, whether to increase investments, or whether to withdraw. Well, the evidence in the data is very clear. Investors have withdrawn. The data shows that the economy has regressed by 7.4% in 2020, and disputed talk of the Minister of Finance further 4.7% in calendar 2021. I say we await 2022. So the economy is severely contracted, and yet you have this Minister of Finance who will stand up and boast each time he speaks about recovery, about growth, when the data is very clear that he is far, far away from anywhere near the truth. And why is this important to you? You know, we talk economy, we talk about these things, and you say, well, that's not important to me. It is exceedingly important to know that base data, because that is what will determine your quality of life on a day-to-day basis. That is what determines whether there are jobs in the market, whether you can get a job, whether your children can get a job. That is what determines it. So the economy is vital. But then, you know, I always say, it doesn't matter how great your lifestyle is. If you're dead, none of it matters. So two vital areas we have serious issues with. The economy to create jobs, investment, and so on, and growth, and then the crime stats, which, as I say, I'll come back to you. But, you know, I have no problem with people holding this Agri-Expo and so on. $7 million spent for this Agri-Expo, I'm told. Is it 7? Where is 8 million? Okay, 8 million. Well, yes, that's a bigger more, $1 million more. $8 million spent. You know, I wonder how many persons sitting in that Napa place, how many of them ever plant cassava or edos or corn? How many of them went out to do fishing, or how many? So they were all sitting in Port of Spain. How many farmers we have in Port of Spain, by the way? In a venue in Port of Spain, dressed up in his jacket and tie and so on, spending $8 million for what? How is this Agri-Expo meant to attract foreign investment in agriculture, when all the indicators show us that investors are fleeing, leaving Trinidad and Tobago? We have reverse investment due to the red tape, due to corruption, due to crime. Our ease of doing business has consistently fallen under this Rowley government. So instead of fixing the structural problems which keep back, deter investment, this regime instead just wants to put on a pappy show. And I saw some really strong farmers. I think Safras was there too, with Angie, if I'm not mistaken, and others, and Ravi Ratiram, Taxi, and others. Some brave people outside there. I saw them move them from one spot to another spot to another spot. They kept moving. These people were protesting outside there, saying, well, look, it's a puppy show. It was a puppy show inside the Napa, $8 million and all, but not going to help us. How will that help farmers who have to face larceny, pretty larceny all the time? How have they helped any farmers who struggle with the high costs of fertilizer, feed, chemicals, and so on? Nothing. So a talk shop sitting inside there. And let's wait and see what happens. We have so many of these pappy shows, talk shops, a lot of big talk, and then no implementation, so we'll wait to see. Look at how the fishermen of our country are left completely on their own to fend for themselves out at sea, facing pirates, murderers, thieves, traffickers. What help do we have for them? How has the PNA helped any of these real farmers with real issues facing them? They have offered nothing but lip service in some cases, and in others they neglect completely the plight of farmers and fishermen. I wonder if you all remember when Rowley himself said we didn't have enough land here for agriculture. When I call for us to invest more in agriculture, Rowley say we don't have land. Today's man is the biggest mouth talking about agriculture. Look at the clip here on the video, please.
Because it's easy to pronounce. Big word, but pronounce it very easy. Agriculture. Meaning what? Peasant agriculture, like most of our parents have been familiar with, or agriculture that's commercial, or agriculture that's of an international scale. Well, for a start, we have no land space in this country to get involved in agriculture, to get the...
In his own words, we have no land space to get involved in agriculture. Just a while back, this week he's all over agriculture. It's a new word, a newfound love for agriculture. So there he is. We have no land for agriculture. What has changed, Mr. Rowley? What has changed except the puppy show that you had up this week there in the Napa building? Since January 2021, I have been asking that we prepare for a looming food crisis. I warned 20 months ago that we must prepare for a food crisis. 20 months later, everyone's shouting about food crisis now. The UNC was ahead of everyone, warning our country. I want to show the article up on the screen, please. Food crisis warning. 20 months ago, the UNC was out front warning of this food crisis. In January of last year, I started calling on the government to take steps to start preparing for the crisis. 20 months later, we see they have now woken up. 20 months later. What I don't know is how the Expo is going to solve problems we are currently facing. As I said earlier, will that Expo clear drains? Will that Expo help lock up thieves of people's produce? We need real hard solutions to help our agri-sector, and not just that pappy show that took place last week. Nothing, I say, will come of that event. Why is it that only a UNC government will recognize a food crisis? Why must it be that only a UNC government recognize the need that food must be VAT-free? Remember, we took out thousands of items, 7,000 food items, no VAT. The PNM came and fooled people and said they will reduce VAT from 15% to 12%. But they put it back on the 7,000 food items. And that's what they did. So when you look at their estimated revenues, even though they were saying they're going to take it down to 12%, they were still estimating the same amount to be collected from VAT because it was a lie, it was a sham, it was a fake news to feed to the population to vote for them. What I don't know is, I say, how will the Expo help? Why is it then 20 months ago when we started this narrative about food crisis, calling for steps, nothing happened? And therefore, my friends, we have to say, they must call that election now. They must call election now. Time for talk is done. Now, every year in the budget, MPs, you all remember, they kept saying they're giving 500 million to the agricultural sector. Every time it's on the books, yes? 500 million. Up to today, not a cent out of that has been given. And they will continue, they'll come back in this budget shortly to lie again. To lie again. I have to spend a little moment here on a very tragic incident that happened. The very tragic death of 7-year-old Hope. Hope. A tragic murder of this 7-year-old child. As a mother, grandmother, you are fathers, grandfathers, brothers, yes? Sisters. The death of this innocent child and other innocent children strikes deeply in our hearts. There's so many facets of this story that are so heartbreaking. First, little Hope lived with her mother in what appears to be very, very difficult circumstances. Getting by, a little shack, no water, no electricity. Hope's mother, I am told, I've read this in the newspapers, suffers from mental illness, that she also spent time institutionalized. The Sunday editorial described this story as a textbook, and I quote, a textbook case of how people in desperate need of help fall through the cracks with tragic consequences. End of quote. So how is it possible that even after Hope's mother was institutionalized with serious mental illness, no arm of our social services detected the dangerous situation in which little Hope existed? How come? No arm of our social institutions or governmental institutions. This tragedy demands an urgent and immediate procedural audit of the workings of the Ministry of Social Development and especially the Children's Authority. We are told that the perpetrator of that heinous crime has been identified. However, it is clear that institutions meant to guard and safeguard children like Hope and work in their interests failed. Those institutions must be held to account. Otherwise, strategies such as these will occur again, and that is completely unacceptable. Many of us have become immune to the daily accounts of horrific killings and violence plaguing our country. It wasn't that long ago that thousands of us took a symbolic stand against the violence of a young woman with the candlelight vigils. I think Saddam mentioned the loss of, and God rest her soul, Andrea and others across the nation. Ashanti Riley, Andrea Barrett. And sadly, this government arrogantly ignored the cries from those vigils. They continue to fail in ensuring attention is given to curbing the now out-of-control crime rate. Recently, you all remember, there was this big uproar, national uproar, when the Judith Jones report exposed the horrific abuse occurring in our children's homes. And again, what has happened? Has anything happened since then? Committee set up for implementation of recommendations out of that Judith Jones report. No action to date has been taken by government. And they will come to you to cry. The only action they took was to drag up the Sabri report 30 years ago, to take blame of themselves, to go back 30 years when you had Justice Jones' report before you. You held it for months before you even laid it and brought it to the public attention. And after you did that, you set up some committee, a task force or something. Up to today, nothing, Ayanna, nothing, Rowley. That is under your ministry, Prime Minister Rowley and Ayanna Webster Roy. What has happened with that report? Nothing. Just shifting blame always from themselves, whilst our people, our young people, continue to die in horrendous circumstances. That ruse backfired, to go back that 30-year report and so on, because it made mention of members of PNM pedophile ring, PNM pedophile ring, PNM pedophile ring. That report had talked about it. And so when they went back 30 years, that became the news again. And we are told that that still exists, abusing children in state care. Today, the government has yet to take any action in protecting valuable and vulnerable children under state care. In fact, Rowley's appointee to the Children's Authority, Nicola Harvey Mitchell, remains always silent on everything. And so perhaps we should ask her to attend our next family day. Then maybe the media might feel compelled to ask some questions. Where are you, Nicola? What are you saying? What does the family unit have to say? What does the Children's Authority have to say? Whilst our children are being murdered, abused, and terrified, where are you? So there is now a whole lost generation under Rowley. An entire lost generation under this government. The expression that the Express used in the editorial that I quoted for you to describe the murder of young Hope, may her soul rest in peace. We pray for her. Those words are so tragic. They are so tragic when they said she fell through the cracks. She fell through the cracks. Many of you are so desensitized when it comes to crime, but I want to ask you all here tonight, do you all want to live in a country where 7-year-old children are left to simply fall through the cracks? Is that the kind of country we want for ourselves? For children, for grandchildren, where children, women, young men, they fall through the cracks? Is that what it is? Is it that when they die, when they're murdered, what is happening? You're falling through the cracks. Is that how we see it? Where's our care? Where's our love? And where's our hope? Because that hope has gone too. A nation stands by and allows innocent children to fall through the cracks. Is that a nation that is indeed a nation, or is that a totally failed nation and failed state? The government is simply standing by, doing nothing as children like Hope fall through the cracks. This government is in fact working to make sure the cracks get bigger and bigger and bigger, so more and more are falling through the cracks. We know, for example, that hundreds, maybe thousands of students have fallen out of the official school system. They have also fallen through the cracks since the lockdowns. Once again, government can tell us nothing about their plans that they have to integrate these children back into the school system. Are they also falling through the cracks? They appear, as I say, to let more and more children fall through the cracks. Again, I repeat my call for migrant children. They have fallen through the cracks too. And we say, oh, it's foreigners. We don't care about them. That could be your child or mine in another country. I repeat my call that I made last week for the migrant children to be allowed to attend schools. I call on the denominational schools. If the state schools wouldn't take them, the denominational schools, please, we must take these children in, because they are falling through really huge cracks. And the conditions they are living in, what is going to happen? Because they will also become burdens on the state. If they do not get to go to school, then what is the future for them and for us? Because if they fall through the cracks, then the rest of us will fall through with them, because they will grow up here. Government has legitimized them to stay here. You think they're going back anyway? You think the government is going to send them back? No. Thousands of them are here with their children, and you're letting those children fall through the cracks to grow up to become what? Criminals and bandits? We have to help them. Again, I repeat that call. I ask you, how many families you know are struggling on the breadline? We do not know, because this government refuses to collect real data on unemployment. How many parents have now fallen into depression? They face serious mental health issues. How many children are now directly impacted? This will be the legacy, as I say, of this government, the Rowley government, their legacy of creating a lost generation. That is what is already happening. For 3 years, our children not in school, no laptops, could not access learning. That is a fallen generation. That is a lost generation, and you know it because we meet them and speak with them. We see the families. We come in contact in the communities with them. They are falling through the cracks, and this government cares nothing. Not a thing do they care. This is a generation of families and children abandoned and neglected. And so I say, as people of this country, we must get up and demand more. We must call the election now. We must call on them now. Too much is happening. There's just too much. Enough is enough. We have to take a stand. You know, we said we feel the tension, we feel the pain, we feel the worries, the struggles. Yes, we feel it, but what are we doing about it? There's some who will sit this day and write, armchair politicians, writing letter to editor, writing columns in the newspapers. That's all they do, just sit and talk and talk and talk. Will do nothing. Will stand up and get nothing done. That is why I commend those people who went in the outside the Agri Expo there to make their voices heard. I commend those people throughout the country who will stand up and make their voices heard, because that's all we can do. Politics is a civilized form of war. In days of old, you know it. When you had a dispute, what did you do? You pick up a stone and pelt them down. You pick up a weapon and damage them. You pick up the gun, the sword, the axe, whatever. That was war, real physical war. Today we must have peaceful war. Today we must have civilized war, and that is what politics is about. Politics is civilized warfare. And so we must stop this sitting back and sitting down and complaining. We must get up and get things done. And that's what we in the UNC, we will continue to do it. And we ask you to join us, let us join together to bring this government peacefully and legally out of government. That is what we must work to do. Do you know where the murder toll is now? Do you know what the murder toll is? You know, we read the numbers every day. 14 in one weekend dead here. All right, okay. Again, we become like stone walls. We turn off. The murder toll in our country now stands at 372 persons murdered. And we are in August. We have rest of August to go, September, October, November, 4.5 months to go. And how many more? More murders and days, yes, more murders and days. 372 murders thus far, this year alone. I told you last week, and I'll repeat, since the Rowley government came into office, over 3,000 people have been murdered. Over 3,000 persons have been murdered in this country. And what do we say? Well, another murder. Each time we open a newspaper, another murder. Look at it, look at it, look at the chart. Every time the PNM is in office, look what happens with the murders. The murders increase. When we were in government, we were able to bring down serious crimes in this country to the lowest ever in 33 years, in 3 decades. One analyst says if this continues, we are on a course to record the highest murder rate in the history of our country this year. If this continues, if this is allowed to continue. One analyst says that if current trends continue, murders will reach 710 per year. 710, can you imagine what that is? And what is this government doing? The man silent, as Saddam showed the clip, people remain silent. Not only does he remain silent, I wish I had the clip to show you, he lied down in Parliament sleeping. Sleeping on the job. Useless. I will show this graph every time I speak about crime to remind you that the safest time this country ever experienced was under a UNC government. And what is the big plan to deal with the crime? Well, we're still waiting on this, what is it, public health plan that they had to deal with crime. And Mr. Jacobs, with due respect, sir, how making the officers wear this uniform, old-time uniform, is going to help fight crime? How? Mr. Jacobs says, we're going to change the uniform. I don't know why. Is it you spend more money to go back and buy the old uniforms? Well, they might as well put them back in the short pants. You remember those days? Any of you young like me to remember the days when the police officers would be walking in short pants? I mean, what does it matter? How is that going to help this horrific crime rate that we have in the country? How will that solve murders, the killings that have become the norm under this government? And so I say, it doesn't matter how many times the uniform change, it will be the same khaki pants. We'll be back in the same khaki pants. Which is to say, literally and figuratively, yes. It's the same khaki pants that the murder rate continues to rise. We see that Heinz has been reduced to marching for peace. Marching for peace. Last time he marched somewhere, they kicked water on him, you all remember that? They wet him down, as Ian Allen would say. Imagine the one man with the power to fix crime is marching instead of doing what we paying him to do. Heinz was marching against himself, basically. That's what he was doing. It's easy to march anyway when you have a security detail falling behind you. So he marched with his whole detail marching behind him. Right now, hundreds of thousands of citizens are afraid to walk the streets, even in their own neighborhoods. And they're afraid even in their own houses, in their own households. Heinz, if you want to march, resign. Go now, Heinz, just go, just go, just go. Then you could march wherever you march out, just go, Heinz, go. Look at your record. 711 persons murdered since he became minister. Under his watch, November last year, 69 murders was the most murderous month in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. November last year, and we heading back there again. He has been condemned by the Prison Officers Association, 2nd Division officers. They say he's a waste of time and one who should be immediately fired. Our lifeguards have lost confidence in his leadership. They have said publicly, and I quote, he doesn't have a clue what's going on with the lifeguard service. He plays politics with people's lives on the beach. There's the lifeguards who fall under him. Immigration officers have demonstrated he is not up to the task of supporting the efforts and leading them. During 12th, 13th, and 14th August, there were 14 murders on the Heinz. followed by 6 murders on Monday and 5 murders on Tuesday of the week. That is your record, Heinz. And you are still sitting in your office collecting $50,000 a month. For what? Look at this headline. Front page of the Express. Do we have it? Do you agree? Heinz must resign. Heinz must resign. Heinz must resign. And the refusal of the Prime Minister to fire him tells us something. It means that the Prime Minister doesn't even care. Everyone is telling Heinz must go, saying, looking at his record, what is the Prime Minister saying? Well, he's silent too, is he not? He's also silent. When crime is out of control, you have a Prime Minister who has nothing to say except to come and talk about public health emergency. I think the only public health emergency we have in the country is Rowley himself and his government. That is a public health emergency we have, and they must go. They must all go. And then we see them, they interfere in every institution. They interfere in every institution in our country against the law, contrary to our Constitution, contrary to the separation of powers doctrine that has governed us and governed democracies like ours. It is well documented how this regime has launched an unprecedented assault on every independent institution in our country and on our Constitution. They have attacked and assaulted the EBC, you all remember that. They have attacked and assaulted the Police Service Commission, you remember that. They have attacked and assaulted the Central Bank. And they have turned their guns now on the judiciary. When you see the judiciary goes in a country, then all law and order goes, all things fall apart. Everything will fall apart. The center will never hold when you start to interfere in the judiciary. Our Constitution is the supreme law of our land, but the judiciary is the guardian of that Constitution. And when you interfere with the judiciary, you interfere with the very pillars and foundations of a democratic society. And we've been saying that all along. They are on the road to dictatorship. And this latest move of interference in the judiciary tells us they are going too far. They have gone too far. The PNM must go. Just call the elections now. Just call it. This weekend, MP Rambali highlighted the news that another dangerous break of our Constitution is taking place. Early in August, the Criminal Bar Association put forward a proposal that 6-day prisoners be released to commemorate our 60-year anniversary of independence. Since that proposal, there was not a single word from the government, from the Attorney General, from Rowley, from any of them, if they were considering that proposal. Now, lo and behold, thanks to anonymous sources, it is revealed that staff members within the judiciary have been instructed to help with a mercy committee. Help with a mercy committee. In fact, we now know that since August 8, 13 judicial research councils, together with the registrar's office, have been going through court documents and compiling a list of persons they think eligible to be pardoned. We have also learned that this process has been halted due to persons contracted COVID, so they had to pause for a cause. It was only when MP Rambali issued a call for clarity on the issue that the judiciary sent out an unsigned press release confirming everything. This is a flagrant violation of the law. This is not how constitutional pardons operate in our democracy. The PNM cannot entrust members of the judiciary on whom should be pardoned. This is total madness. This is total dictatorship. I say thank God for UNC's virtual report, because it's only due to the UNC that the nation learns of what is being done in secret. The law, when it comes to the Mercy Committee, is crystal clear. Crystal clear. The power of pardon is governed by the conjoint effects of sections 87, 88, and 89 of our Constitution. They provide in those sections for the President of the Republic to act on the advice of a minister designated by the President, acting in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister, and you have an advisory committee called the Mercy Committee to advise the Minister on the exercise of this power. And so you cannot take officers in the judiciary to do this job. There's a constitutional process that must be followed. You cannot interfere in the workings of a constitutional mercy committee, an advisory committee, a mercy committee to operate. That structure has been provided for in the Constitution. Again, I say you have no part in interfering or calling upon the judiciary to do this job for you. This government is completely out of control. They have destroyed, as I said, the Police Service Commission, the integrity of the EBC, destroyed the independence of the central bank, and now judiciary of Trinidad and Tobago. The judiciary too must come clean with the people of TNT and tell us who that official is, who asked them to use their officers to compile this list. Was it the same official who sabotaged the Police Service Commission at President's house? Was it Rowley himself who was given this instruction to the judiciary? And if that is so, then this is a total, shameless, out-of-control government, total dictatorship of a government. So as I close tonight, I want to tell you, wherever the right is, we will be there. We will do what is right to all manner of men and women in our country. And so, remember, we must never, ever give up. I need to make a few announcements for you. Remember again, the deadline for nominations for constituency executive elections, 26 August 2022. For local government councillors, the deadline for nominations, 2nd September 2022. Aldermen, deadline for nominations or applications, 2nd September 2022. Youth Arm elections, deadline nominations, 9th September 2022. Women's Arm elections, deadline for nominations, 9th September 2022. I ask you to look out for Tasarama this Saturday, have some fun. The finals will be at Fun Splash Saturday, 27th August. So please go and have some fun and enjoy the culture of the Tasarama. Our public budget consultations are as follows. Week 1, Thursday, 25th August 2022. Chaguanas Borough Corporation and Vancouver Talparo Corporation will post the links. Is this what is in Visit Saddam and Tanko? I saw him somewhere. MP Tanko, is it a virtual or is it a public consultation venue? It will be held this first one, Thursday, 25th August 2022 at the Chaguanas Borough Hall. Saturday, 27th August 2022, conjoint Princestown Regional Corporation and Mayaro Regional Corporation. Venue, please. To be announced, so keep checking our social media posts. Week 2, Thursday, 1st September, Samuel Laventil and Diego Martin and Port of Spain Corporations. And Saturday, 3rd September 2022, Sani Grande Corporation. So we'll post these up on our sites and venues will be shared with you. So once again, I tell you, whenever the night is at the darkest hour, always remember that the sun is just about to shine through. After every dark night, the sun always rises again. The Express headline describing the tragic events of the past weekend as a killing of hope. But please remember, we must never ever give up hope. This wicked regime can do all manner of crimes to us, but we must never let them break our spirit. Never ever lose hope and never ever give up. We will fight with our last breaths for you in the UNC and outside of the UNC. And as I always say, you have had leaders before me. You will always have leaders after me, but you will never ever have a leader who loves you as much as I do. Thank you and God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Ooh. Belly. If you cut me, you go see blood. And if you squeeze me, you go feel the love. We are one people under the sun. One nation under the law. So who feel the black? Who feel the white? Who feel the right? Come and go. And all who feel the too bright, let me jump up, let me wind up, party non-stop. Ramage Dingule Kekete, we come to play mass. Every creed and class, don't let nothing pass. Like a ready TV, all the love inside away. Same way, same way, same way. But it's set till tomorrow night. Who feel the wrong? Who feel the right? Come and go. And all who feel the too bright, let me jump up, let me wind up, party non-stop. Ramage dingo like el we come to play mass. Every creed and class, don't let nothing pass. Like a ready TV, all the love inside the way. Uptown and ghetto, feeling the tempo. Soca and Kaiso, it's party day like so. Soon as we land, fun is the plan. We like to jam, like Bim and Bam. Waving we hand inside the band, we inside the band. And if you cut me, you go see blood. And if you squeeze me, you go feel the love. We are